Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast, where we provide you with your weekly diagnosis of everything fantasy football. Whether it's season-long leagues, dynasty, DFS, or sometimes even IDP, we got you covered all year long. Let's do it. Let's get to it. Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast and YouTube channel. And it is your boy, John June. And of course, I've got a special guest here with me today. We're continuing our AFC West breakdowns. And so had to bring in a guy, founder of the game-winning drive. The Sports Box is their home. You can find him on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I know him from Twitter, but my guy, Drew Trammell. Drew, welcome into the show, brother.
Hey, what's up, man? Hey, thanks for having me, brother. I'm really excited to do this. I'm happy that you invited me. Great vibes last time we had you on our show. So I'm just looking forward to doing this, man. It's good to talk to someone who likes the Chargers.
Hey, man, I'm glad that you led with it real quick, man, because I do fancy the Chargers very, very much. I talk about them often. I haven't stopped talking about them pretty much since the end of last year, but they did finish third in the AFC West in 2020, 7-9 record. They were going through they're going through a lot of change, or they were going through a lot of change at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Phillip Rivers no longer at the helm at quarterback. Tyrod Taylor started out the season, but he would end up missing the remainder of the season after an incident with a pain-killing injection. Enter rookie phenom Justin Herbert, the man you see behind me, would step in to have a phenomenal rookie season. However, it would not lead to a lot of team success. They missed the playoffs, ended up losing some close games that they probably should have won. 12 of their 16 games were decided by 7 points or less. And 7 of those games ended up in a loss. The Chargers seemed to think the issues were, personnel related or coaching related, as they changed a lot of their coaching staff and relieved head coach Anthony Lynn of his duties, instead going with Brandon Staley, former Rams defensive coordinator. So, Drew, what are the vibes in the area as it pertains to the Chargers and all amongst Charger fans?
So right now, the vibe right now is optimistic. Very, very a lot of optimism going on right now in the city of LA that are Charger fans, and then down here where I live in San Diego, where they're originated from. There's still some fans left over here. A bunch of my buddies of mine. We're excited. We're excited, Jay. We're excited. I mean, I know you've been following my Twitter. My biggest concern is health, because that's always been the Achilles heel, no pun intended, when it comes to the Chargers and their luck. The most talented roster on paper, but can never translate into the field where it matters the most, and it's because of injuries. New doctor, new staff. Brandon Staley brings this. At first, I wasn't excited about the hiring, and now that I've gotten to know him more and understand the tree that he comes from, and people are comparing him to the defensive minded of Sean McVay, and that gets me super uber excited for this defense, especially with the one Derwin James, who we need to keep in a bubble wrap and make sure he doesn't play at all this preseason. I hope he doesn't play at all. Seriously. He's the biggest player that I got my eyes on, that I don't want to see anything happen or anything mess up with. Other than that, optimism, man. Optimism. We're excited. We're definitely excited for what this team can bring this year.
Yeah, man. One of my best friends from college is actually a Chargers fan. So, they're just a team that I end up following just from that way. And you're right, man. This is a team that over the years has been absolutely snake bitten by injury.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just even when they were having success in the AFC Championship game against New England, and you've got LT on the sideline with a knee injury, and Phillip Rivers playing with a torn ACL. Just it goes way. Sean Merriman could never stay on the field. Like, it goes back with these guys, and we talk about Derwin James, who hasn't been able to really play since being drafted. What was he, 2018 when he was drafted, Derwin James, 17th overall. So,
Yes.
For even Mike Williams, who's had trouble staying healthy, who we'll talk about a little bit today. I mean, if the Chargers can just stay healthy, right? That's just the start of the conversation. If they could just stay healthy, then we're talking about a potential, not just a wild card team, but a contender here potentially. I mean,
Yes,
let's
sir.
talk about the quarterback position, man, because like, hey, man, I'm gonna have to get hyped up, man, because this guy, man, the Big Herb, as we call him, 2020 Offensive Rookie of the Year, completed 66.6% of his passes for 4,336 yards, 31 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Also added 234 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns. The 31 touchdown passes is a rookie record. The passing yards fall just 39 yards short of a rookie record there. Overall, he finishes the QB 10 in total fantasy points, averaging 20.8 fantasy points per game. The dude was constantly bailing the Chargers out. They would get they would get down early in games, and they would ask Herbert to bail them out. And then they were the middle of the pack in rush rate on first and second down, despite being 28th in rushing expected points added. So they were not a good running team, but yet on first and second down, your two most important downs, right? They're running the ball. And then this led to Herbert being an absolute beast on third down because he led the NFL in passing touchdowns on third down with 15. And he was third amongst all players in fantasy points on third down as a rookie, according to fantasydata.com. So again, dude was a stud. Drew, he's currently going off the board as the QB7. How are we feeling about this price on Herbert?
Yeah, that's fine. QB7 is okay. I think it's respectable for a sophomore year coming in. I mean, you got to appreciate what he had last year in fantasy. I'm pretty sure 100% an undrafted player. Didn't know. Obviously, like you said, Tyrod Taylor was going to start, so we didn't know when Herbert was going to see the light of day when it comes to the field. Thank God for that team doctor to pinch a nerve and whatever the hell he did with the shot. That I mean, hey, all respects to Tyrod Taylor, man. I hope he succeeds in Houston, but that's just a roadblock in the way from the future. And now we got the future in our hands. We are going to see QB7 for this year. Jay it's there. It needs to be at that spot because it's a revamped O-line. It's a way better O-line than it was last year. Like you said, I believe you said 28th. I think they were 31st in rushing, if I'm correct. I mean, Austin Eckler was gone for 75% of the season. That's another guy that should be your diamond in the rough in your first and second round for a Charger. In Austin Eckler, a lot of production that I think that's going to come from him and and the new offensive coordinator that we have on the offense. And and like I said, Jay, Herbert has the arsenal with him now. He did lose Hunter Henry. I know some people are just like kind of skeptic because he's gone. He really didn't do that much if you really read the numbers. I mean, you could plug anyone at the tight end spot, and Herbert will be fine. Hunter Henry was not a game-changing type of tight end like a Darren Waller that can catch the ball and get the yak. That's not Hunter Henry. He catches the ball, he drops. So I don't want to hear that noise. The biggest question, I know we're going to talk about him later, and the biggest question for me is Mike Will. Mike Will needs to be that guy that can run down the field, catch the ball, play consistently, and be the 2017 when he had that monster year when he got I think it was 2017.
It's like 2018 and 2019. It was 18, yeah, 8 because we'll get into him a little bit, but
we'll get into that. He needs to have that year. It's a contract year for him. So I mean, this is going to be huge for what the Chargers offense could bring. But obviously, you have who I think is a top 5 receiver across the NFL, and Keenan Allen. I mean, you got him coming back. You got Eckler. You got this revamped old line. Herbert. The sky's the limit for Herbert, Jay. The sky's the limit is for Herbert.
Honestly, man, and the thing about what Herbert for me is I think that there's so much more. I mean, look, I know he already led the league in passing last year, but that was because the Chargers would. I mean, you saw it, right? I mean, they would ram Kalen Ballage down the middle, for 2 quarters, and then in the second half they'd be like, "Oh crap, we're down. Herbert, can you please lead us back?"
Yeah.
and so you look
Anthony Lynn.
Yes, yeah, and I love the guy, dude. I love Anthony Lynn. I love the guy.
Anthony Lynn.
But the decision making as a coach, the stick-to-itiveness to just say, oh, we're going to be a run-first team, even though we can protect our rookie quarterback, even though your rookie quarterback's the best thing you got going for you. That just really, really annoyed me when it came to the Chargers last year. But Brandon Staley, we talked about him off the top, the defensive-minded version of Sean McVay. This guy, former quarterback, so he thinks that way. He comes in as obviously his defensive coordinator, but this is a guy that's not going to suffocate. He's not going to suffocate Justin Herbert. He's not going to be from the
No.
Rex Ryan tree where it's like, hey, protect my defense, protect my defense. This is going to be, look who we got as his offensive coordinator, Joe Lombardi from the New Orleans Saints, to come over here and install an offense like that. So I think we're going to still see the Chargers throwing at a high rate, right? I think okay, let's put it this way. Maybe they won't throw us at a high rate per se, but there'll be a lot of volume. Because last year they didn't throw at a high rate, but there was a lot of volume because of a lot of comebacks that they had to do. But I think this year this will be because of what the offense is. The offense will be designed to throw the football. So
yes,
I think that you'll see more attempt. You'll see probably a similar amount of attempts from Justin Herbert last year, but the game plan going in will be different, which means we should there's more upside there in my opinion. Like you said, the offensive line is there. The offensive line's upgraded. The weapons are there. Hunter Henry, I totally agree with you. I mean, we can talk about that at the tight end when we get to tight end position because I got to go on a whole rant about Hunter Henry, but I think the play calling is going to be better. And another thing I think, obviously at 234 rushing yards last year, 5 touchdowns. I think we see him potentially run the ball more for more explosive plays because the Chargers didn't often run Justin Herbert, right? They did some design runs, but a lot of times it was him making a play. And so I think we'll see him used that way as well because he's a guy that he's an athlete on the move as well. I think Justin Herbert, the sky's the limit, like you said. But let's talk about another guy I'm really high on this year, and that's Austin Eckler. You talked about him before when we were talking about Herbert. Was given the lead back role last year after the Chargers moved on from Melvin Gordon. Eckler returned pretty good value on for managers that were willing to take him at the end of the first round or halfway through the second, even in some drafts last year. Through 10 games, he averaged 16.5 PPR points per game, finished as the RB11 in points per game. Did miss 6 games on the year with a gruesome hamstring injury, but he was still the team's leading rusher, 116 carries, 530 yards to go along with 65 targets, 54 receptions for 403 yards, scored 3 total touchdowns on the season. But if you extrapolate his season out to 16 games, we're talking about 848 rushing yards, 645 receiving yards. Now enter Brandon Staley and new offensive coordinator Joe Lombardi, who comes from New Orleans, like I previously mentioned. I think Eckler has even more potential in 2021. He's going off the board as the RB8. Drew, are you in on this price tag here for the Chargers running back?
Hands down. I mean, definitely on this. And I had to separate homerism to being a fantasy football wannabe expert on Twitterverse. I just love the game. I love fantasy football. I love numbers. And this is not just being a homer. Look, you just said it. You hit the the nail on the head. The guy that's coming from New Orleans is our new offensive coordinator. And what is New Orleans good at? Low to intermediate passing with Drew Brees at the helm, with Alvin Kamara getting at least what would you say, 10 to 15 targets a game on a ball range? In a range. I mean, that's what Eckler is going to get, dude. He's going to get this. He's going to get the screens because that's what New Orleans love to do. That's what he loved to do. And you're going to get a running back receiver type, a dual threat in Austin Eckler, who if you look at his workout videos on the offseason, it's just insane, dude. It's insane what this guy with his stature is able to produce and to be able to give you in between those lines. I mean, it's like you said, and I think you said about Herbert, which really makes me excited about him, is that the 200 something yards of rushing and 5 touchdowns rushing, something that the San Diegans and the 3 years the Los Angelinos don't have no idea about because of Phillip Rivers. You know, you talking about a statue in water. I love me some PR, bro. Like PR is one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time. But it is refreshing seeing a young man and Justin Herbert being able to hit the A, B, or C gaps and be able to run away from the pocket and throw on the run, because that's something that Rivers was, that was his kryptonite. And so, it's just really evident, Jay, to see that that Eckler is going to be able to miss these games last year and still finish RB11. But now if he can stay, like, what is it? Healthy. We need these guys to stay healthy all year. And Eckler, I honestly believe, will finish in the top RB5s. 1 through 5, I think he'll finish, because just because of the production. I still think this is an offensive team. The defense is not all the way there. We're still missing pieces in the middle and on the defensive side, and linebackers and I can go on for days. But for the offense, we're going to rely on this offense again this year, and we got to wait another year to see this defense really get up and get what I'm saying, get the plays down, get the coverages down. Derwin James is going to be back. It's a lot of things that I'm really excited about to see what Staley can do with this defense. But this offense, it shouldn't be hard to mess with. Just got to tune it up.
Yeah, look, man. It's so tough, right? Because there's a world, right, where I really want to consider taking you brought him up. I really want to consider taking Austin Eckler over Alvin Kamara. Like, I really want
I
to.
would.
Like honestly, because there is the production has already been there with Eckler. Like I just read the numbers to you on the year. Like, he was on pace for 104 targets. The most targets Alvin Kamara has ever had in the season was 107. So if anything, you already know what the floor is for Eckler. It's going to be 100 targets in the pass game, and you expect a better offense and a better situation, something that's more creative. Those runs will probably be more efficient. So I think the sky's the limit here for Eckler, and there's got to be some positive regression in the touchdown department, because Eckler is not a guy that can't score touchdowns. Eckler can score some touchdowns. No. So he's not going to just score 3. He's not going to get all these yards and score 3 touchdowns. It's not going to happen.
No. That's what keeps it from the top 5. It's just that he's not in the goal line packages. That belongs to Kelly or Balaj, or if they go out and they want to go get an AP or a Todd Gurley, which is the rumors right now. That would be a bigger buffer back, going to go get to the goal line and get those touchdowns. But there's a word called touchdown dependency, and that's what these guys are that I just announced. Eckler is your first, second, and third down back to get to the goal line. So that's what 90 yards, 95 yards of production compared to 5 yards and a 6. I get it, I understand it, but I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to draft Eckler over CMC or Dalvin Cook or Saquon Barkley. All these cats that it's PPR for a reason. Points per reception, people. It's catches, it's production, and Eckler is going to get that production.
Yeah, I mean, Eckler is probably the safest player that you could probably take in the top 7 of your draft.
Yes.
Right. I mean, don't tell me about injury. Every running back you're going to take in this top 7 has a high injury risk. Eckler is probably the safest guy outside of, like, maybe McCaffrey or.
I had injury last year. I wrote it a couple weeks ago. Just to spitball this real quick, I do think that Zeke will have a bounce back 2021 with that back. But with Kamara, I'm a dynasty owner of Kamara in 2 dynasties, and I've been trying to trade him all off season. People don't want to touch him. It's just and you know what makes it worse too is Mike Thomas might be out for at least 9 to 10 weeks. That's what's being reported after the surgery. So what our defense is going to do? They're going to stack. They're going to stack with the spy on the running back with Kamara, and then what receivers are you going to beat us with? Saints. Who's going to throw the ball? Yeah, exactly. Traquan Smith, and then Taysom Hill is going to be the quarterback. Watch.
Now that Michael Thomas is Hill out to receiver.
Are they?
No, I
feel better with Jameis Winston at the helm as a Kamara owner. than I do with Hill.
Yeah, no, definitely. Hey, look, man, let's move on to the wide receiver position because there's a bold prediction I have. Nick Script, PTW Fantasy was asking for bold predictions, so I sent one into his show.
Oh,
The Chargers would produce three top five fantasy players in Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler,
okay.
and this next guy, Keenan Allen. Probably one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL. Allen was great value for fantasy managers last year. He was discounted because of the quarterback situation, but then became highly valuable because of the quarterback situation in Justin Herbert. He he missed 2 games. Well, really 3 if you count the Raiders game where he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna play." Said it on live TV, and then like barely played. But if you look at the 12 full games in which he did play with Justin Herbert at the helm, he was on a 16-game pace of 181 targets for 127 catches, 1,251 yards, and 11 touchdowns. In terms of PPR points per game, he was the wide receiver 6, averaging 17 and a half PPR points per game. Currently going off the board as the wide receiver 9. Does Keenan Allen qualify as a value in your eyes?
Oh yeah, tremendous value. He is the epitome of what wide receiver 1 should be. We're talking about, and I'll go to the grave to this, Jay. I mean, in his prime, I still consider Keenan Allen. I think he's 29. I still think he's in his prime. The greatest route runner in the NFL. He's the greatest route runner in the NFL. And once again, I'm excusing my homerism because I can easily say he's the number 1 guy and be an idiot on this podcast, but I'm not. I think everyone can agree, or most people can agree, that he's so underrated that people don't appreciate his feet work, his technical abilities to be able to get open, and his route work. His route work is just one of a kind. His hands, what I would say would be the underrated achievement that he has that people don't want to talk about, is just the man never drops the ball. I mean, it's literally one drop probably out of 6 or 7 games of 15 to 20 targets. It's just, you got to respect where respect is due. And Keenan Allen needs that respect. It's the other guy that's playing the wide position that needs to, to gather an understanding. I know we'll talk about him later, and that's Mike Will. It's just it needs to happen. This has to be the year for it to happen. Keenan Allen, man, wide receiver 9. I don't know who the 8 guys. I had to look up and see who the 8 guys in front of him are. It's probably debatable. You probably can get him at wide receiver 5 or 6 off the board. I know there's a Stephon Diggs is ahead of him. I can probably make an argument on that, but overall, man, I still think that's great value for fantasy owners to get someone of his caliber at wide receiver 9.
Yeah, so the ADP that we're using is according to 4for4.com's multi-site ADP. They get a bunch of ADP from different sites, average them together, and so that's where we're at. But Keenan Allen, the 8 receivers going ahead of him: Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, DK Metcalf, Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown, Keenan Allen. Me personally, I'm with you in a PPR league. I'm gonna take Keenan Allen's a top 5 option for me. I just
agree.
That's where I have him ranked, and that's where I'm gonna have him because the most predictive statistic for fantasy production, especially the wide receiver position, is going to be targets, right? I mean, targets is a skilled position, is a skilled stat, as JJ Zacharyson, late round quarterback, likes to call it. You have to get it open to get us to receive a target, and like you said, Keenan Allen's one of the best players in the NFL at getting open. Who cares about what his 40 time was? Great, what 4.71 or whatever it was, doesn't matter. Do create separation, and so at the end of the day, in a PPR league, I'm going to take Justin. Justin Jefferson, Keenan Allen.
Yeah, I like it too.
I like. Hey, don't get me wrong. Love me some Justin Jefferson, but not his show. But but Keenan Allen is a guy I'm just gonna take him because we basically saw him almost get 200 targets last year. Yep. And just the quarterback is coming back. Like we said, the offense should be better. He should see some better, more efficient targets. So I think that we're going to be in a situation here where Keenan Allen is probably, as safe as you're going to get in a PPR league because again, those targets are going to be there. But let's talk about this next guy. It seems like I might have more faith in him than you do, but hey, he's a polarizing player. Becomes very polarizing to discuss, especially when it comes to fantasy. He's a former first-round pick, 7th overall. Mike Williams has frustrated managers with inconsistency and an inability to stay healthy, which I will argue, though, that his inability to stay healthy is because has a freakish ability to leap really high and get the ball and then doesn't care what happens when he comes down. But after a season in 2018 where he had 1,000 receiving yards, averaged 20 yards per reception, and only scored 2 touchdowns that year, there was an expectation that Williams would then put it all together after scoring 10 touchdowns in 2019 on only 740 receiving yards or 600 receiving yards. But in 15 games last year, saw 85 targets for 48 receptions, 756 yards, and 5 touchdowns. I find myself very much in on Mike Williams when you consider the coaching change, Herbert in year 2, increased passing volume, or I guess more efficient targets in the passing game, and more targets available to Mike Williams because of the departure of Hunter Henry. So I'm going to ask you, Drew, are you not taking the shot on the wide receiver 48? Wide receiver 48, Drew.
Come on, man. You know I want to take a shot if it's there. I think correct me if I'm wrong, John. I've done a couple of mocks. It's about to be mock season here very soon for me. I think he's going 10-11, right?
Yes, he is going in 12-team leagues. He's going at 10-09.
Okay, that's good value. I'll say that's good value.
Now, wait, let me just tell you some of the names, right? Like Michael Gallup, Michael Pittman, Marvin Jones, Darnell Mooney, T.Y. Hilton. I mean, Mecole Hardman. I mean,
maybe Hardman now that Watkins is gone, but that's tough. But for me, I'm gonna try my best to separate it. So fantasy wise, yes, good value. Go for it. Wide receiver 2, he's gonna be in the majority of the snaps. He's a tall guy. He can block really well as a receiver. I'll give him his props. He can get you those once in a blue moon, 40+ yard touchdowns that like, oh my God, why is this from week 1 to week 17 or week 18 or how many weeks we have now this season? Why doesn't he do this every week? And it's because it's a lack of discipline with his route running. His route running, he just does not get open. He has to be that freakish of that type of specimen to be able to jump up and get the ball because the man cannot get open, dude. It's crazy to me. And from a reality standpoint, we should have let him go. And I'm very, very, very pissed off from Tom Telesco, who I'm so high of as our GM. 15.5 mil, John. 15.5. I'm pretty sure you and I could both sit down and agree that this dude ain't worth 15.5 for what the lack of consistency. He's only had one good season, and that was a season where it was Phillip Rivers' last hurrah to the playoffs. The extra point. He was the go-to guy. You were thinking about Keenan Allen was hurt. And so Mike Williams did a lot of things. That's why I was shocked. These years since 2019, 2020, 2 years since that big year where Keenan Allen is back and reinserted in this offense, and you're still not able to get separation on the number 2s of the defense for corners. It makes no sense. They put him at slot. It didn't work. You got to stay on the outside. Okay, you're not working the outside. What do we do? Okay, Hunter Henry's gone now. Now what we're doing? Oh, you know what, Mike? We're gonna leave you out there. We got a guy named Josh Palmer at the slot that's gonna be making some noise. And that's going to be your air replacement if you don't figure it out this year and you don't play all 17 games. I'll tell you right now, that's going to be your replacement because we're not going to re-sign you back for this type of money because you cannot show consistency at the wide receiver position in a high level. So my outlook for fantasy, good value. Go for him at 10-9. I would definitely go for him at 10-9 because I'm more than likely I'm not going to get Keenan Allen. So I do want a piece of that Charger offense for fantasy. But other than that, reality-wise, John, I'm not a Mike Williams dude. I'm not.
Well, all right. Let me just. I mixed my dates up a little bit. 2019 was a 1,000-yard season. 2018 was the 10 touchdown season. I just had them.
Okay.
So
okay, so 2018 was a double-digit touchdown season.
Yeah, because
so he's only had one year of double-digit touchdowns and 1 year of over 1,000 yards.
They just weren't in the same year.
They weren't in the same year. Oh man. Man. Sorry, my son's having
look, man, it's all good, brother. It's all good. But look, man, I think where I stand with Mike Williams, I totally agree. There's been this lack of, consistency from him for sure. And I think that when you consider how much has been invested into him, obviously the Chargers don't want to admit that they were wrong when they invested 7th overall pick. He doesn't really play much as a rookie in 2017, and then in 2018 you were like, oh well, he got 10 touchdowns, and then in 2019 he's like, oh well, he got 1,000 yards, and so then you're just trying to talk yourself into this thing. $15 million, probably not a lot, but then you look at a guy like Mike Williams, maybe he goes out and gets more, or gets a more long-term deal than maybe the Chargers are willing to do, because if the Chargers, the way they might see it, $15.5 million, maybe he's not worth it. But is it worth giving your young quarterback this weapon and seeing and helping him develop, and then seeing, hey, is this guy Mike Williams, can he be something? And I'm hoping that we see Mike Williams play in a role closer to what he played in 2019, where he was averaging 20 yards a catch, because he's averaged 15 last year, 15 in 2018 when he had the 10 touchdown season. Had an ADOT last year of 7, or 2 years ago of 17, before having an ADOT of I think it was 13 last year and the year before that. I want the ADOT of 17. I want that average depth of target up near 17 yards so that we can see those big plays, because there were times I'm watching Herbert last year just drop dimes to guys like Jalen Guyton or Tyron Johnson.
Johnson.
Like just randos that that Justin Herbert's just dropping dimes. And I'm like, and I'm just sitting there. I remember like Mike Williams, I think, had a shoulder injury, the broken collarbone. And I just remember thinking, like, that's going to be Mike Williams. He had 20 yards a catch last year. That's going to be Mike Williams, like, and then he comes back, but he wasn't getting a lot of these deep shots. They weren't connecting a ton. I think he had only had like really a couple good games. I think one against Denver. I think at wide receiver 48, he's worth the shot. I've got him. My projections, I've got him at 36. So, because I think he does. I think just the targets there alone are available to him to potentially get 1,000 yards, right? And then, Justin Herbert, if he continues to be a touchdown machine, I mean, this is a guy that had a 10 touchdown season, like we said earlier. Had 5 last year. So I think that I think there's an upside here that's not reflected at wide receiver 48.
Yeah, definitely. There's always room.
All right, man. Let's talk about the tight end position, man, because Hunter Henry, he left for greener pastures in New England after being second on the team in targets with 93 through 14 games, finishing as the tight end 12, averaging just over 10 fantasy points per game. I mean, you talked about it earlier. Me and my co-host Greg Penniman, who will be back next week, actually, we went back and forth all season about it, because I was just like anti Hunter Henry, because I'm like, yo, the dude is not helping you. Like, yeah, he'll get like 8 to 10 points, but 8 to 10 points does not help you.
No.
at one point it became more valuable to try to stream than to play Hunter Henry
Yes.
because
Yes.
there was no ups. Like if you were going into your finals against Travis Kelce or Darren Waller, Hunter Henry wasn't going to help you.
No.
Even the Robert Tunyons of the world, Hunter Henry wasn't going to help you.
Mm-mm.
So I had my issues with Hunter Henry last year. There's an expectation here that between Jared Cook, Donald Parham, or my personal dynasty darling Trey McKitty, there's an expectation that one of these guys will be fantasy relevant. Cook gets the benefit of the doubt from fantasy managers, mainly due to his history and his, in his final season in New Orleans, he turned 60 targets into 37 catches, 504 yards, and 7 touchdowns, finishing as the tight end 18 in total PPR points, averaging 8.5 points per game. Cook leads the Chargers tight ends in ADP at tight end 18. So how are we attacking the tight end position when it comes to the Chargers, Drew?
Plug and play. Plug and play. That's the way I look at it. Jared Cook, not a great 2-year. I believe it was a 2-year stretch for him in New Orleans. It didn't work out. I mean, obviously Drew Brees was hurt back-to-back years, so he really couldn't build that camaraderie, that chemistry in New Orleans. But I think there's a reason why Brady, the Joe, came to the Chargers and said, "Hey, let's go get Jared Cook. There's something there." You know what? Speaking of Hunter Henry, man, after what I found out what he signed for New England, I say good riddance, man. I'm happy. I mean, the guy missed, I want to say back-to-back years with torn ACL, and I think it was this year and last year was his first 2 years of being able to play more games than half in the back-to-back years in his career. So I thought, honestly, Jay, I really thought that we were going to re-sign him back at a team-friendly contract, kind of like what Eckler signed. We stole Eckler. I mean, that contract that he signed was absolutely theft. It was just robbery. I can't believe he even agreed to that. Thank God he did. But with that being said, I thought Henry was going to get something in that structure. I mean, obviously, it's fair to say that he's not Kittle. He's not Wallen, and Darren Waller, and he's God forsaken. He's not Travis Kelce. So I thought he was going to get that lower range of tight end money. Who knew that New England was going to be shelling out money like that to him and Jono Smith? Another topic for another day. But for Jared Cook, and I'm a fan guy. I like him a lot. Yeah, I like what I saw last year with him and Herbert at the helm. Like they had some good chemistry going on between each other. I was kind of hopeful that we would get Kyle Pitts, but I'm even better with what we got with our left tackle that we drafted. I can't think of his name right now.
Ronnie, no, shoot, Rashawn Slater.
Rashawn Slater, thank you. Yeah, I'm through the roof with that pick. But that's what I'm saying, man. It's just something that you wish to have, but it's a plug and play, bro. It's a plug and play. It's gonna be screens. It's gonna be low intermediate passing with the tight ends, and probably not that many red zone targets. So I'm not fantasy driven crazy for it. I think all of our tight ends will be undrafted. There'll be a high stream choice week in, week out, depending on the matchup, as you know. And we'll see how it goes, man. Plug and play.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, when I'm looking for the tight end position, I'm obviously either going to try to get one of these guys early, or I will try to take one of these guys with some high upside late. And you're going to get me all distracted bringing up Kyle Pitts on the podcast, man, because Kyle Pitts is one of my favorite guys, and he's probably one of my favorite NFL players right now who has yet to play a snap. I talk about Kyle Pitts almost every chance I get, but you put him on probably my second favorite team right now in the LA Chargers.
God.
And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, this podcast will have to end because some SFW things might take place on this broadcast.
Yes.
But anyway, Hunter Henry, I'm totally with you. He was not worth that money that not for what New England's gonna ask him to do, right? Like, I don't know. If New Orleans gave Hunter Henry that money, I'd be like, oh, okay. I guess that makes sense, But
yeah,
from a guy that's never had more than 600 receiving yards, like I don't really know if that's really worth it there. but
Nope.
we'll see. I like we said, I don't think it's going to affect Justin Herbert much. I will be streaming these tight ends, say they have a good matchup or something like that. I'll be looking to get these guys in there. But other than that, man, obviously, we talked about all the positions. I just got one more question to ask you before I let you go, Drew. How is the AFC West breaking down, and where are the Chargers finishing in this West division when it's all said and done?
Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders.
I'm with you, man. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be for the Chiefs. It's gonna be 12-4. Or no, I'm sorry, it's different now this year. 13-4, right? And then I got the Chargers 11-6. I got the Broncos at 8-8 or 9-8, and then I got the Raiders at 7-10. Yeah, 7-10. I wrote it all down. I gotta find it, but yeah. For me, man, this is still Chiefs division. I just don't until I see some deficiencies in this offensive line for Kansas City and this defense. I mean, I can't bet against who I think is the best quarterback in the NFL right now, which is Patrick Mahomes. It's just hard for me to bet against him. It's hard for me to bet against one of the best coaches in the NFL, Andy Reid. I mean, we don't have Tampa Bay's defense, bro. We don't. So.
Can I play devil's? Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I just want to play devil's advocate for a little bit.
Go for it.
So, you got Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
Right, which not close to Patrick Mahomes, but
he's in the spectrum.
I'm just gonna leave it there, right?
Yeah.
And then, and then you've got this high-powered offense potentially, right? Chiefs defense not that great. But you got Brandon Staley come in here, right? Brandon Staley, what'd he just do? He just made the Rams the number one pass defense and the number one defense overall. And he came in and was like, we're going to stop the pass game. That's what we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on the pass. Didn't care about the run. Was like, we're going to stop the pass. And so guess what? He's not cooking anything up for anybody but Patrick Mahomes. Nobody. So I'm just...
I hear you, but the problem is when you do that, and I had this issue the whole time, is that it's easy to do that when you have arguably in the history of the NFL the greatest defensive player to ever play the game, Aaron Donald, and then you have Jalen Ramsey at corner. Yes. I mean, yes, is he a defensive-minded genius? We'll find out, because he's not going to have those two big-time players in a Chargers uniform. Aaron Donald makes anybody's life easier. I mean, you imagine any defensive coordinator across the NFL of all time that would love to just make plays around this man, this freak of a man who I still think doesn't get enough respect across the NFL, that if I had to start my team, I probably would start it or build it around Aaron Donald if I knew what I was going to get in his prime. That's how great I think he is.
Where would you take Joey Bosa?
No, I'd take Aaron Donald in a minute.
No, where would you take Joey Bosa?
Where would I take Joey Bosa? I'm a defensive guy, so I'm going defense. So I probably would, fill up my defense first to figure it out.
I just say that to make the point that Joey Bosa is, he's not Aaron Donald, but just gonna keep that.
He's up there. No, yeah, he's up there.
and then
I just think a defensive tackle does more. It has more of an impact on the line and on the defense.
There's a guy. There's a guy here, Jerry Tillery.
I'm off on him. I'm too
no
inconsistent, man. No, he's too inconsistent. It's a reach at first round. He's a reach, and Tom Telesco knows that. We'll see, man. What is this, year 3? I think.
This will be year 3 for him.
All right. Well, he's got 2 years of development. He was hurt. I think his first year. And then the second year, I watched him a lot. Man, he was getting hammered at the line.
Yeah.
He made some plays. I mean, it goes the same with Murray at linebacker. We traded him, got him for a late first, got him at a late first round, and he was inconsistent. He wasn't that knight in shining armor that we haven't had at a middle linebacker since Junior Seau. We haven't had someone that could be a captain of our defense from a linebacker position. And you know what, man? Like I said, Staley has a lot of projects coming into this training camp and this mini camp, and he knows that there's talent here. Can you get the talent out of those players and put them at the right position to become a successful defense in the AFC West when you have arguably the best team in the AFC and the Chiefs at our next door neighbor? We have to beat them in order for us to become a playoff team. We have to win one of those games. So it's gonna be it's a lot, dude. It's gonna be a lot. But Derwin James, there's a line, and there's Derwin James. And if Derwin James could be healthy, I don't know why people diss him. I understand he's been plagued by injuries the last 2 years, but I am such a fan of DJ. And people think that, meniscus tear, and then the bone that connects from your ankle to your big toe that he broke and missed 9 weeks in 2019. That's a freak accident. That never happens. I just think that I remember the DJ that was able to shut down Travis Kelce for 2 games. That's the DJ that I know, and that I think that if that can reciprocate itself from 2018 to 2021, and we get the same type of cat, the sky's the limit for that defense, man. The sky's the limit for that defense.
Yeah, man. I was reading some articles before we got on here to record, and apparently DJ, joked around. He's getting moves all over this defense. Joked around. He might even see some time at nose guard. So, we'll see.
Lost you.
No, it's all good, man. But, bro, I appreciate you, Drew, so much, man. Definitely appreciate you coming on and talking about our favorite team in the Chargers.
That's right. That's right. Our favorite team.
But, hey, man, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you and all your work, man, and what the Sports Box got cooking, man.
Yeah, man, definitely, dude. Once again, we appreciate Fantasy Diagnostics for giving us the platform to be able to come on with you, John. We are the Game Winning Drive. We are a podcast. We cover the NFL. We cover college football, and we also cover high school sports out here in San Diego. We are on a break right now. Our season 2 is about to start here next Wednesday. We're really excited to get our show up and running. This Saturday, we have a huge mock PPR full point draft that we are doing with myself and 9 other participants. John was supposed to be on it, but he's being a bum. Can't get on it. So whatever it is, what it is. I understand he's got more important things. We didn't pay him. We had to pay him. That's what I heard. We had to pay John to get on. So no, but in all reality, John's my boy. I'm just kidding. In all reality, man, we are on Facebook. We are on Twitter. We're on YouTube, and we're on Instagram. Game Winning Drive. Come check us out, dude. We are looking for more subscribers on YouTube. We are obviously looking for more subscribers on Twitter and Facebook. We our sports blog network. Shout out to my boy Brian Detard, who is the head honcho for our network. We're almost crossed 15.5K in viewers and subscribers. Dude, big things, big things popping, little things stopping there. But yeah, man, it's an exciting time. I know we'll get you on our show once the season starts ramping up. We're going to talk about fantasy. I can't wait to talk about it. Our heroes and our zeros so far and reaching and all that stuff. But man, thanks for having us on, man. Thanks for having me on. It's I really appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Look, man. Sorry I can't be there for the mock draft, but next time just tell him to cut a bigger check, bro, and I'll be there. But
I'll talk to my sponsors real quick on that one.
But definitely, Drew, I appreciate you, man. This was fun as always, brother, and definitely we'll have to do it again. Make sure you go check Drew out, the Game Winning Drive. Make sure you go subscribe to his show. Him and the boys over there do some great work. So, absolutely have to check them out. But for now, fellas and ladies out there, we are out of here. Peace.